Okey, terima kasih Tan Sri. Sekarang kita bukakan kepada soalan ya. Siapa-siapa boleh masuk terus ya, tanya Tan Sri.
Boleh.
Ya, Encik Ahmad. Okey. Ada siapa-siapa, Encik Azman? Okey, sementara kita tunggu soalan yang akan diutarakan Tan Sri. Boleh tak Tan Sri bagi komen on generation gap ya? Sebab ramai staff-staff di universiti sekarang ni kebanyakannya muda-muda belaka ya, yang lecturers. So the top management tu kebanyakan otai-otai semua. So how
Prof,
you suggest atau bagi nasihat? Yep.
Prof,
Hello?
I can't really hear what you're saying.
You cannot hear?
Dia macam, ya.
Yeah, putus-putus ya, maybe the connection.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm asking you about generation gap.
Yes.
Generation gaps between top management and young lecturers or young staff.
Okay.
What is your opinion about this?
I think this is where the senior staff of the university must go down and talk more to the younger staff. Because, you know, I remember when I first started in UM as a young staff, I was struggling too. Because I don't really know how to perform. Nobody really guides me. Nobody tells me how to apply for research grants. Nobody tells me how to improve on my teaching, what are the support dan sebagainya. So the university must create a system whereby you have senior people to become the role model and to show the way for the younger staff. This is how you close the gap. And I think there are a lot of senior staff who are most willing to share their experience, their ideas dan sebagainya with the younger staff. I really felt at a loss initially lah for the first few years. But then again, I don't want to give up. I find advice from whom I think can give me the advice, and finally, I got the idea, and I can see the way on how to perform as an academic. So we need role model, we need staff to be talking to the younger staff dan sebagainya, and this exchange of ideas, this guidance does not need to be only in the office dan sebagainya. It can be in the coffee shop dan sebagainya, you know. Wherever you can, wherever the young staff can get in touch with senior staff dan sebagainya, go. I mean, don't be afraid to approach anybody, because at the end of the day, what can a senior staff do to you if they don't like you see? Most important thing, you gather ideas and you associate with them and you get ideas from those who want to share lah with you. So I think this is the way, Prof. And kalau the system, the management can come up with this kind of ecosystem, that be very helpful for the younger staff lah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri.
Assalamualaikum Tan Sri.
Okay, teruskan, siapa yang bertanya tadi?
Shardi here.
Okay, Shardi ya.
Shardi here from UMK. Tan Sri, you have said if we put a belief on people to do a work, we just hire or appoint him to do the work lah. But we work as a group. Sometimes we believe this kind of people can do it, but our friend or our deputy, we have a different thought about the people. So how can we deal together?
Okay, if I get the right point about your question, you see, Doctor, I think there's no ideal way of recruiting people. Very often you look at the CV, very often you have to talk to them dan sebagainya. But there are always ways of correcting the process of what you have done if they are not correct. If let's say you don't get the right people, because at the end of the day, the right people will want to survive in the right system, and people who cannot fit themselves because they cannot perform dan sebagainya, they will also fizzle out at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, if you are within a system, if you are the head of a section dan sebagainya, and you're not happy with a certain person, you have to be frank with them. You have to tell them, look, you are not meeting the KPIs. Look, you are not collaborating with others dan sebagainya. And whoever is in a position of power dan sebagainya must advise. And if they refuse to improve dan sebagainya, well, sometimes the tough actions has to be taken into it. So we have to look at the particular situation. We have to look at the scenario where this has become a problem. But I think we should not be discouraged just because we got the wrong staff. Because throughout my life, I've recruited staff who are not fit for the job because of wrong information that I've got dan sebagainya. But you are not ideal, you are not Superman, you are not always correct in what you do, but you correct when you have to correct, because there's no such thing as you are always perfect in whatever you do, But a good leader must be able to correct when you know that things are not like what was expected. I hope that answers your question, Doctor. Okay, next question.
Thank you, Tan Sri.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Hi, Tan Sri. Oh, okay.
Okay, saya ya.
Zaifila, all right. Assalamualaikum, Tan Sri. I'm Zaifila from UniLeeb. All right, Tan Sri, you have been in the IPTA and IPTS. What the main challenge, the difference that you see to manage the IPTA and IPTS? Because we know IPTS, we are more on the what we call profit incomes. So on your experience, what the most challenging things that you have been for the different environments? Okay,
before that, Doctor, what's your name again? I didn't catch your name.
My name is Zaifila.
Zaifila. Okay, I'm trying to look for your name here. Okay, UniKL.
Yeah.
Okay, Zaifila Farina.
Yes, correct. Zaifila Farina.
Okay. So I get your question. What's the difference between public and private, especially in terms of financing dan sebagainya lah, and management. You see, the biggest problem with private institutions today, they are very much tuition fee based. So when you have problem with the funding agency like PT, PTN, or when there are pandemics like this where student numbers goes down, so the income goes down, so they can easily go into the red. One area where private university has not really looked at is to look at endowments, like some of the top universities in the world. So the way forward, Doctor, is to really quickly look into how you can create endowment. And actually the word endowment has been talked a lot lately in the last few years, but nothing concrete has been able to be realized, because actually finding money is not easy. Actually, money is a very difficult thing to get. So we need people who can come up with ideas, better ideas on how to create endowment. Because at the end of the day, if any institution is just depending on tuition fee, you are really very risky lah, this thing. Now, in the public university, the government guarantee the existence. But lately, with with the situation with the economy dan sebagainya, there have been cuts, and the public universities have been told to look for more money, and the government is not going to give all the requests for annual grants anymore. So even the public university pun is progressively is experiencing financial difficulties. And this is also the reason why I promised UPM I create a 1 billion ringgit endowment. So when it comes to financials, I think the situation in the private university is more desperate, whereas in the public is not so bad because it has got government guarantees. But with the pandemic, I think the situation could be more serious because the government pun ada, you know, as you know, the government also said that it has been a challenge to the country because of the pandemic. But in a private university, they have to be much more innovative to create the endowments. Because if not, they will not survive. No way this can last for a long time. But of course, in the private university, the hire and fire concept is there. You are the CEO, you are on contract. If you don't perform, you go. You know, in the public university, a lot of the vice chancellors are permanent staff, they are professors. So if they don't perform, they will still stay on lah. But I'm one person who is advocating that actually the top criteria of any VC now would be their ability to source funds for the university. This has to be the top priority alongside academic excellence and sebagainya, you know. But I have to admit that we have yet to see how long this pandemic will persist and how bad the economy gets before we can really say how bad the financing of universities get, you know. But we know it's not so good lah. Okay, next question.
Assalamualaikum Tan Sri, Saraf here.
Salam. Yeah, Saraf, yes.
Saraf here. Tan Sri, I'm going to ask you a very easy question. Like you said, if you were given a chance to head the Ministry of Education, what are the top 5 things that you wanted to change and you want to make Malaysia as the top destination for education?
Saraf, this is a very difficult question to answer because I don't want to be in the Ministry of Education. I prefer to be on the ground,
I know,
addressing problems and issues in the institutions or starting new in the ground. Because I think all this policy making, giving directions, we leave it to the brighter people lah. I mean, I prefer to sweat myself out down on the ground. But obviously, if I were to attempt your question, whoever is in government must promote academic excellence and quality. This is a must, you know. And secondly, the ministry should urgently look into giving the autonomy and also create, you know, abolishing this AUKU and creating a new ACTA for the public and the private institution. I mean, which the previous government has been talking about. I think it is a very good thing. We must really be brave to actually give autonomy because that will be the incentive for institutions that are capable, because many of them are saying that they cannot do this, they cannot do that because of the bureaucracy and sebagainya. So give it to them, let them perform, rather than we keep controlling things and nobody can really perform lah. Of course, some people will argue, really isn't there autonomy dan sebagainya, but I think the model is that is the university able to move fast enough? Is the university able to make their own decisions in regard to many issues, especially financing dan sebagainya? So this issue of autonomy is extremely important. I mentioned about academic excellence, which is the most important thing. Of course, number 3, if I were there, which I said I will never be there, is actually putting KPIs to institutions, to the top management of universities and to the board of universities, to raise money and to become more autonomous. And no, there should not be a single top management person in the university or any board member that says that it's not their job to look for money for the university. Because if these are not the people that we expect to look for the money, then who else? You know, so this is a very difficult thing, but it is a very urgent thing, knowing that the funds for university dan sebagainya now is in question already, you know. So this would be the three topmost things that I will seriously address, and I hope we get real change in these three aspects and we get real direction in this, so that our university can be very competitive, can be very independent, and then produce good results at the end of the day and can be recognized globally. You know, I think we have done well, but I think we have to do more. Thank you, sir.
Shukran, Tan Sri. Shukran. Thank you.
Afwan.
Okay, next question, please.
Okay, Assalamualaikum Tan Sri.
Waalaikumsalam.
Dari UMK.
Waalaikumsalam.
UMK, Nick Zulkarnain from UMK. Okay, so we see the high achievement lah, but Tan Sri have go higher achiever. So can you give some tips for maybe young leaders or maybe the current leaders to be more highly motivated to pursue the achievement, you know, after another achievement, I mean go for another achievement to another achievement.
Okay. So in other words, apa ni, Nick Zulkarnain kan?
Ya, saya Tan Sri.
Okay, so what you are saying is how to create the motivation dan sebagainya kan?
Ya.
You see, Nick, it comes to a point in your life where if you can be self-motivated, that is the best. Whereby you don't need others to give you direction dan sebagainya. Because the real winners, the real performers, they set their own vision, and no matter what the challenges, no matter what the problems, they are very focused and they are not distracted. And therefore, Nick, in your case, I think you are Professor Makya now. Why not you set yourself the target to be to be a professor very soon, number satu. Of course, to be a professor which is recognized because of your contribution, your bidang, your research, your teaching, and not jadi professor because you know some people. Okay, so that's number one. You know. Secondly, ni I've just been telling in this talk, the country, the universities are facing grave problems. Why don't you think of how you can contribute into bringing in money into the university? And I tell you, many people have problems to answer this question, how to bring in more money into the system. So this is a good challenge, and why not challenge yourself to be doing this? And believe me, if you set yourself these problems and one day you are able to solve this and sebagainya, the satisfaction comes to you, and that satisfaction will motivate you further, you know. Because at the end of the day, let me remind you that if you are self-motivated, that you can motivate yourself to do higher level work dan sebagainya, that is the best scenario, rather than you always have to depend on people to motivate you. You know, I really think that should be the way lah, you know, if you really want to go very far, you know. And do not ever be discouraged because of problems that you have, challenges that you have, that you apply for this, you never get, you didn't get the research grant you want. Don't be distracted, don't be discouraged. This is normal, this is life, you see. So just stay on the course and don't give up until you get what you have set out to do. Is that okay, Nick?
Okay. Thank you for the tip, Tan Sri.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
As you can ask you, actually I have two questions.
Yes, please.
I am Ning Syamuddin Muhammad Noor from Universiti Tun Hussein on Malaysia, UKHM.
Okay.
Okay, you have mentioned in your talk that lecturers have to be involved in business.
Yes.
Okay, but looking on the current scenario amongst our universities that we are quite aware, well-versed in publication, research publication, in academics, writing, scopus, ISI and so on. But we actually, academics are not really aware or really well-versed in business. Okay, for example, some of our fellow friends, fellow academics, they have conducted a lot of consultancy works. That also one type of business, even though in the services they're selling the services, but they also do some businesses. At the same time, some of our academics also they have, for example, they establish a spin-off companies. Okay.
Yes.
But still, at the end of the day, at the end of the years, they still will be a question about the academics or the research achievement. How about the paper publications, book publication, regardless of a lot of the things they do in income generation, but still they cannot run from publication and so on. So what are your opinion? The question I want to ask you is, what your opinion in terms of strategic distribution of KPIs among lecturers? Some are very strong in publication, some might be strong in in income generation. So even though we have the 4 routes in our MEB, but still I'm not sure that, I don't think it is fully implemented by universities. That one question.
So this is your first question. Your second question?
The second question is about ranking things of academic universities in the world. As I mentioned in the talks, last time they focus on QS. You have QS rating, QS ranking, Times Education, U21, Shanghai, and even in our local universities in Malaysia, you also have MIRA, Malaysia Research Assessment Rating. Okay, but at the same time, when all public universities established in Malaysia, almost all universities have been appointed to focus on certain categories. For example, ARIUS must focus on research, MTUN must focus on industry collaboration, UMK must focus on businesses. But then at the end of the day, when we talk about MIRA, the set that being divided or that being set for each university are all the same. Regardless of initial stage, you mentioned you have to focus on business, you have to focus on industry, but at the end of the day, the distribution of ranking is still the same. So what do you think about that? And what should we do to move forward? Thank you.
Okay. Now to answer your first question, your name is Nik Hishamuddin, kan? Yeah, okay. Nik, when I mean business and entrepreneurship, Nik, one is what you do with your research, you want to market it, you want to create startup. That's one. But there are a lot of people who have their own personal business. We never tell the university, betul tak? Okay. And who is there to tell you, hey, you tak boleh buat business lain? You hanya boleh buat whatever you have told the university. When I was an academic staff, when I was dean, when I was VC, I have my own companies now. Because at the end of the day, my thinking is simple. If we can have an academic staff who can become very rich because apart from doing dia punya academic work, research dan sebagainya, and can actually be successful in business, that's exactly the kind of people we're looking at. Because if all the academics boleh generate duit, I think we are better off that way, rather than everybody cannot raise money dan sebagainya. You look at some of the Western universities, Scandinavian universities where I have been, they have no problem with staff trying to set up their own companies. And I know I have been to one university I think this was in Sweden, I think, where if the staff set up their business, if they go bankrupt, that's their problem. But if they make billions, that's their money. Dia tak akan kacau. I think that is a better scheme rather than we try to control everything. At the end we can't really perform well, you know. But of course, if ever you do business on your own dan sebagainya, there is an ethical requirement that you have to declare, and you must make sure that your formal duty takes priority above your personal business. So you must be able to manage these things, you know? And I tell you, do business, make yourself rich. You know, if I was the VC, I'll be very happy with people who are able to make money on their own. By the way, even if you start business and you fail, I think it is all right. Because we don't want academics yang takut sangat dengan nak buat business, nak take risk. At the end, I think they're unfit to talk about entrepreneurship dan sebagainya. And yet, we have come to an era where you need the top management to be entrepreneur, to be looking at how you can do business and generate income dan sebagainya. But you have never been exposed before. How are you going to get into this sort of discussion? So I really place great importance in that. Now, on your second question, in terms of the requirements, in terms of ranking dan sebagainya, I think this particular issue is for the vice chancellors of the MTONs dan sebagainya, technical universities, to, if they think that there is a kejanggalan in terms of what is being set as KPI and what is the sort of duties and responsibilities that the staff has to, they have to sort this out with the ministry. But I do understand that you cannot have all the universities in Malaysia to try to become in the top 50, top 100 in Malaysia. Tak boleh juga, you know, because universities have been set up to fulfill certain function, roles dan sebagainya. But to me, what is important, whatever you have been set to do, you must do it the best you can, deliver the best. Itu paling penting, you know. Jangan half-hearted dan sebagainya, satu. Dan keduanya, I'm sure in whatever position you are in whichever university, there are set of KPIs where they will define you. You are good, you are excellent, you are lousy based on whatever achievement there. Tapi yang pentingnya, your institution must be able to make a mark globally in whatever field that you want to be, because I believe that no one institution can be the best in everything. It's impossible. Even Harvard cannot be the best in everything, you know. So perhaps in your university, you can be the best in a certain area, and that's a great achievement. But most important thing, everybody must do the best. Jangan half-hearted, jangan, you know, everybody must be excellent in whatever they do. And those are the people we should promote. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Ya, Dato'. Assalamualaikum Tan Sri.
Waalaikumsalam.
Nama saya Jasmon Tan Sri.
Ya.
Ya, just want to ask.
Jasmon
daripada Universiti Malaysia Kelantan.
Okay, yes.
Just I want to ask you about your opinion. What is going to happen to our education industry, especially the university, after this COVID-19? Because as you said just now, to become the best, everything is about budget, about money. And after this, as you know, I'm very sure that the government going to cut a lot of budget to the university, and it's not easy to find grant after this, because especially the company also have a problem, and then endowment also I think it's not that easy to find. So what you think, what is going to happen to our education industry after this? Okay,
Jasmon, yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. How I will answer your question is this. Nombor satu, to give the proper accurate answer to this is difficult at this stage, because I don't know how long this pandemic will be. When will the effective vaccine be found, you know? Because if we have to continue with this movement control for a long time, I think the damage is very serious lah, you know. And you know, a lot of countries including US, UK, they are very, very restless now because, you know, if their people have to remain at home all the time, memang susah. The economy will be destroyed. So all the leaders are in a very difficult situation to decide when to open up again, when people should go back to work, when school children should go back to schools, when university students should go back to university. So to answer your question, a bit difficult, but all I can say is definitely there's going to be an impact on everything. And so certainly in education, in higher education, like public university, where it is being sponsored by government budget, I think there'll be a hit on the university budget dan sebagainya. But if you look at it, this is why I say those who actually has the ability to help generate funds, those are really the most useful people now, actually, you know. But the problem is, I think before this, even though we say that people should place more emphasis on creating their wakaf, their endowment dan sebagainya, but we don't have KPIs on this. We don't really push people into doing this. So really to answer you, we have to be very, very serious now in making sure whoever is responsible in the university system to look for money, they really go and look for money, and we must put KPIs on this. And among those, in my opinion, that should be given the KPI to look for money is the top management as well as the board members. Because I think these things have to change if we want to survive into the future. It cannot be like before anymore. Board members must be given KPIs. And after having said that, that means how we remunerate the board members pun kena different lah, because you know the board meetings are once in 2 months and they are only paid an allowance. But if you expect them to perform, I think we need a new set of people who can help to build up the endowment and so on. So this is basically my point. You know, this very challenging time. We have to see how long we will go in this pandemic. But at the end, whoever has ideas on how to raise money, they are the most useful people at this point of time. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri.
Sama-sama.
Okay, Dr. Satya Bama from Razak School, KL. Do you want to give any questions, or you can read your questions? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Satya Bama.
Dr. Satya.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything.
No. Maybe I can read it. How did you doing now to groom younger staff or generation? Any specific engagement? Any specific engagement to groom younger staff? This is a question from Satya Bama.
Doctor, I've read your question.
Yes,
I was
having a problem.
I don't really understand. Can you say it slowly?
Yes, yes, Tan Sri. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. So you are currently with UPM and the university that you belong to. Do you have some specific or special engagement? Of course, we are in the pandemic, MCO and all. But then, if at all you have, please share with us.
No, I don't really get that last part. Say it again.
To groom the young researchers, young management people. Of course, it can be the PPE staffs, or overall in general.
Okay.
All right.
I got
Thank
it.
you. Terima kasih.
Okay, yeah, okay. Now, you see, I remember in the University of Malaya, which I think in UPM they are also following this thing also. We make it compulsory for academic staff, especially the young staff, to be a member of research groups. We tell them that they must tell us which which research groups or which research centers and so on they want to be with, and then they will, apart from doing their teaching and so on and reporting to the head and the dean, they will also have to report to the research group head and so on. So we make it compulsory. In other words, staff cannot not be in any research group and so on. They cannot be on a standalone at all, you know. That's one. Secondly, now when they join any university, there are set KPIs. You know, if you are a lecturer, you are senior lecturer, what are the number of publication you have to provide to give every year, what sort of students you must be supervising and so on. So this in a way is actually making them, committing them into actually doing all those that they must do in order to perform as a good researcher, as a good academic and so on. We did this in UM, and I know that in UPM also, every new staff member has got all these KPIs that they have to fulfill. I don't know your institution whether you have this, but we cannot escape this setting KPIs and so on, because with KPIs, the staff will know whether they fit into the system or they don't fit into the system, one. And secondly, the management also will know whether their targets can be achieved or not achieved. Because the university management has a duty to target certain positions and so on, whereby from every staff members, they will need to deliver such and such. So I think in public university like in UM that I know, and also in UPM, that there are all these KPIs that are in place. Thank you.
Yes, Tan Sri, thank you very much. So even in UTM, we have both this top down and also bottom up. So bottom up is what we are trying to enjoy. We as researchers and academicians, we are trying to enjoy the moments, and then at the same time trying to achieve the KPI.
Yep. But having said that, trust me, I think the university that will eventually come on top will be the university that will have the biggest endowment, no matter what it is. UM can be in the top 100 today, but there's no guarantee in 10 years it will still be in the top 100. And a very young university, but if they work hard and they are able to actually create big endowments to fund their progress dan sebagainya, they could be number one in Malaysia in 10 years time, you know. So nothing is fixed. The whole system, there's a lot of dynamics in it where things can change by the year. So don't worry about it. But the rewards for being able to perform and so on is very high. Usually, it is worth working hard to get to become the top 100 and so on. I think there's a lot of benefits of doing that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Tan Sri.
Okay, any questions?
Assalamualaikum, Tan Sri.
Waalaikumsalam.
Saya Kamal Zaki daripada UTHM. It's quite general question. How you describe your leadership style, Tan Sri? Because some people might see you as a bold person and less humanistic. And does this, that criteria is good for a leader, especially for the young leader to follow nowadays?
Okay. You're asking about my leadership style lah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Zaki kan?
Yeah, betul.
If you ask me about myself, I think I'm horrible. My wife always complain about me. believe me or not, she will say I'm lazy. But I know one thing, if I'm given a responsibility, if I'm given a task, I would fail if I don't deliver. And in order to deliver, especially if you are required to transform an organization dan sebagainya, there are elements of motivating people, but there are elements of taking tough action to set the KPIs dan sebagainya. So I would like to think that when I went to I think my biggest job was to transform from an institution where they think that they have always been the best into bringing the institution to become really the best. And to do that, I have to bring in money. I have to change the ministry punya attitude towards I have to change the staff yang who fail to get their PhD to really get back on track. We have to tell across the board in that the statistic shows that has been lagging behind dan sebagainya. So I like to think that I am transforming. In a way, I am also transforming, bringing some of these elements into UPM, because in the last few months, I've already told management to set new KPIs based on ISI journals dan sebagainya, and I told them we must require all staff to publish only in ISI journals, no more in in Scopus journals and so on, and I've told them to do that as soon as possible, because we have to be competitive and we have to get into the top 100 within the next 5 years. And that is why also, apart from insisting that UPM should be changing in terms of their KPIs and sebagainya, that's why I'm setting my own KPIs that I will have by getting a 1 billion ringgit endowment within 3 years. I have another 2.5 years to do that. So, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri.
Thank you.
Okay, Tan Sri, there is a question on the chat from Salvan. Okay, he asks you about your opinion on such requirement. The requirement about the first degree and masters or PhD must be from same field. However, he thinks this limits the sharing of knowledge with the students. So what is your opinions on that?
Doctor, this is, who is the person asking the question?
Salvan.
Salvan.
Yeah.
I can't see his name here. Trying to read his question. Oh, Salvan A.
Yeah.
Okay, to me, a lecturer at university, the stress on requirement of first degree must be from same field. However, I think this limit hearing another. Selvan, to answer you, I'm not aware of this requirement, because I've seen people doing electrical engineering first degree and then finally getting PhD in economics. I've seen this. So it all depends on the requirements of the faculty, the requirement of the dean, and so on. Generally, if you are in electrical engineering, they expect you to do PhD in electrical engineering, yes. But I think there's no hard and fast rule, because at the end of the day, if you ask me, if I'm in a position of authority in university, if the person who wants to do PhD can show that they can really perform and become excellent in another field, oh, I welcome that. I have no problem with that. It is, at the end of the day, all about whether you ni performer ke tidak, and when we speak to a person, I think we can have a rough idea whether the person is actually artificial or whether he's really solid. So I think this is not really an issue. I think you have to justify why you want to change another field. Okay. I think there's a question here is asking about what is the criteria to be a VC. Okay, Encik Marwan Ismail, is that right? Ya, Tan Sri, apakah kriteria yang digunakan untuk memilih Naib Chancellor di IPTA? Well, there is a committee in the ministry, I think 5 or 6 person inside the committee which interviews prospective candidates. And of course, at the end of the day, the final authority is with the minister to decide whom they want as the VC lah, you know. But generally, of course, the criteria is that the person must be good in their academic work, with good track record as a researcher in their teaching, has had the experience of being a dean, deputy VC, and so on, and hopefully can show that they have industry links. They have the potential to bring in funds into the university dan sebagainya. Secara general, those are the things. But of course, at the end of the day, the committee actually will submit the recommended names to the minister, and the minister will decide. So that's how it is lah, the system now. Okay, thank you. Next.
Okay, the next question is about from Chi Kwan, maybe the Dr. Chi Kwan. Tan Sri and UM were the same university last time. Why today NUS is on top 20 while UM is top 100? What's the difference between these two universities in terms of management? So why UM can lead in top 20 while UM is in top 100? Please advise.
Okay, this is a question from Chia Chi Kwan. Why NUS is in the top 20 and UM is top 100? Okay, several reasons. What I know, because I also know used to know the vice chancellor of NUS and also board members of NUS, because when I was VC of UM, we have annual meetings dan sebagainya. Of course, NUS gets a lot more money from their government. Also, NUS gets very big research grants from the government. I still remember President Tan Toh Chuan, the president of NUS, told me that at that point of time, NUS gets 400 million Singapore dollars every year from their government. Okay, so that's many times the budget that UM gets lah. So of course, with more money, they can employ Nobel laureates, they can employ the best professors dan sebagainya. That's one. Secondly, I think the Malaysia ni, we may have to be aware of certain sensitivities when we handle managed institutions and sebagaimana and so on, where Singapore may not face the same kind of challenges. But nevertheless, if we have good leaders, they'll be able to balance all this and still put the university on track to become a leading university and so on. In fact, I would think that for UM to get into the top 100 in QS has actually surprised so many people lah. But of course, we want UM to go higher dan sebagainya lah, you know. So I think the principal reason is budget, and secondly is we need really good leaders. If really we want to bring all these universities in Malaysia forward, we have to be serious in putting good leaders. And you understand what good leaders, what I mean by good leaders based on the earlier slides that I've shown you just now. It's not just leaders who want to survive in their position, but leaders who are high risk takers, who are courageous to bring change and to bring the system forward. And I think to find good leaders is not easy. it is really not easy, because I remember Tan Sri Abdullah Sanusi, when I was the Deputy VC in UM, he said that, in UM there are 2,000 over academic staff, and he said, I'm scratching the bottom of the barrel, which means it's not so easy to find good leaders lah to get into the top management. Okay.
Okay, there is question from Prof. Rose. Do you like to ask Tan Sri directly, Prof. Rose?
Rose.
Yeah.
Prof. Rose.
Yeah, boleh Tan Sri. Assalamualaikum Tan Sri. It's really nice to hear from you again. Right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. My question is that, there are some people go for the 4-track systems, but some are like a resistance to that. Yeah, the 4-track system that's going to be, in fact, it's already being imposed by the Kementerian dulu, but cuma guna pakai belum lagi dibuat sepenuhnya oleh semua universiti lah. So I just would like to have your take about this, because early in the beginning you said that one of the criteria for an excellent lecturer in the future is that they must have an entrepreneurial punya ni. So my take is that entrepreneurial not just thinking but also in terms of behavioral. So what's your view about this 4-track system? Thank you, Tan Sri.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Ideally, we should have all these qualities inside the academic staff. But of course, in life, to have everything in a person, and dia boleh the person can excel in all the areas that you mentioned, may not be easy. But I think for each of these areas, there must be a minimum cut-off point, in order to qualify them to be called excellent, Certainly, if you want to be promoted to be a professor, you must have certain minimum in terms of your teaching, in terms of leadership dan sebagainya. But I must admit, not all professors can become leaders. But there are professors who can be very excellent in their research. They can create a national centers of excellence. They can get distinguished professor title dan sebagainya. They can get awards, but not necessarily they can be good vice chancellors, good deans dan sebagainya. But I think for someone to get those promotions that we mean, they must meet certain minimum standard for each of these areas. Then if we do that, then I think we bring the capability of the university higher. I'm never in favor of they can be good in these areas, but they are allowed not to be so good in certain areas. I think academics must have reached a certain minimum standard for each of these areas. I really want a professor to have good links with industry. I want professors to have leadership skill, because how can he manage his research group kalau dia tak ada leadership skills dan sebagainya? Because you may find a professor at the end of the day is so destructive because he just cannot manage others, and at the end the research group he leads cannot last very long because people are not in harmony with one another, So again, my thinking, there must be a certain minimum of some of these qualities in a university. However, when it comes to a medical faculty of a university, dia lain pula. There needs different streaming, because you need professors who are very good at research, but you need also professors who are very, very good in their surgical work. Because, a lot of these medical doctors, you cannot expect them to do so much, and you can see under this pandemic how the doctors are working very hard. So in the medical faculty, there are different streams. Those who are super surgeons, but there are also the super researchers dan sebagainya. So, but in general, for the rest of the university, from engineering to science to languages to economy to business, I think there should be a minimum of each one of them. And if they don't achieve those minimum, they shouldn't be promoted, in my opinion.
Thank you, Tan Sri.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. All right, Prof.
Ya, Dr. Anis.
Okay, Prof, carry on.
Kita dah pukul 4 minit. Ada lagi ke yang terbuku di dada yang nak tanya Tan Sri before we call off our discussion today? Kalau tak ada, Tan Sri, thank you very much for the session. Cuma sedikitlah sebelum I wrap up, sebenarnya sesi kita hari ini Tech Talk ni is meant for Talent Excellence Development Talk, dan hari ini kita nampak participants kita ni is a young talent that of course in the future will become our leaders up to Vice Chancellor. So very good advice from Tan Sri dan juga pengalaman yang Tan Sri share dengan kami tu, insyaAllah kami akan do our best. Dan remember, Tan Sri will always available kalau siapa-siapa nak tanya on personal consultant, ya Tan Sri?
Welcome.
Jadi sebelum saya akhiri sesi saya ni, sesi kita ni, Tan Sri ada sepatah dua kata ke, advice ke, whatever for the young leaders kita, please, Tan Sri?
Yeah. My last few words will be this. We live in challenging times now, especially with this unexpected pandemic. Because you look 6 months ago, we don't even think that the situation will be like this. But if we really love the nation, if we care for the nation, if we have a good heart for other human beings, we must rise to the occasion and we must stick on to our responsibility and do a good job of it. We must not give up. We must not be disheartened just because we have these problems now. Because this problem is being faced by all over the world, and you can see how bad the situation is in Italy, in US dan sebagainya. So this is a new opportunity for all of us. So if you really think you want to be a good leader, you want to be an excellent academic, make sure you can adjust yourself and still perform as an academic under the current circumstances. But believe me, the pandemic will go away, and those who stick and who are focused to the academic excellence, which is their primary role, we will do well and we will rise again quickly after the pandemic. Because at the end of the day, we want our country to be recognized, to be known as another center education excellence in the world. And people must recognize that our academics are really great, even though there's a pandemic, but they are still on top of the world. So don't let this pandemic bring you down. Make it as a challenge that you will stay high and you will raise the flag of the nation. I think that is the most important thing that I must say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you very much. So with that, that is the end of our Talent Excellence Development Talk, which is TED Talks for today. So this is the last series. Then there's an assignment for the UniLeeb participants. So thank you very much. Thank you also to all participants. Kita jumpa lagi for next circle of our TED Talk. So with that, thank you Tan Sri, thank you everyone.
Welcome. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.